What's going on, guys? Welcome back to your Lake Fork guy. Welcome back to Lake Fork. The Bass Pro Tour is coming here at the end of this week. So today we're going to give you guys a full breakdown of the current patterns, what we expect to see, and really just a full preview of the Bass Pro Tour Lake Fork event. So Bass Pro Tour will be here, I believe, beginning on February 19th, which is this coming Sunday is when they begin. That means they'll be here Thursday, Friday, Saturday practicing. It's coming up on us fast. These guys are coming here at a very interesting time. I'm surprised they picked this time of year, being that they run the every fish counts method of weighing their fish. It's not a time of year to catch a bunch of fish, to be quite honest with you, at Lake Fork. But what is cool is that you can catch some really big fish, and the average size of your catches is just absolutely through the roof. As you guys have seen in some of our videos last week, like every time we swing the hammer, it's pretty much 5 pounds or bigger. It's a lot of big fish getting caught when you do catch them on Lake Fork right now. And with these guys coming here, listen, they are the best in the world. Those guys in the Elite Series guys, those are the best in the world. So a lot of these guys, they're going to figure it out. They're going to get some bites, and when they do, I'll be willing to bet they're going to be some big bites. Now, what we've been dealing with is we've had no real significant warm trends yet this year. As you guys are watching this video, there is a little bit of one going on. We finally have some 50-degree lows overnight, and that's what makes the big difference. And right now, I don't see anything going up to this during this tournament, leading up to it, that's going to give us a big, huge warm trend. That could change everything that we talk about today if we do get a warm trend right before or even during this tournament. The way they break these fields down, remember, these events go for 6 days. So in 6 days, this entire lake could change. This time of year, it only takes two or three days for the bite and the patterns and the entire lake, the way the whole lake fishes, to change. It can do it quick. So that being said, we're going to kind of give you guys both scenarios. If things continue on the path they've been on, we'll talk about what that's going to look like first. So you guys have seen us on the channel lately throwing this little dude right here a whole bunch. We've been throwing the old black and blue, tried and true, old black and blue jig. We like to call that Kenny Wayne right there. You know what I mean? A little blue on black right there. But we've been throwing that jig, and primarily what we've been focusing on is creek channels. Lake Fork is in a situation right now where the lake is 6 foot below full pull. They did a manual drawing down of the lake back in December, as many of you know. This lake will maintain this level because they are working on the dam, and they've recently announced they will continue to work on the dam for the foreseeable future. We have no expected date for them to close the gates and allow the lake to rise. So as of right now, this lake's going to stay 6 foot low for quite some time. Certainly will be throughout the entirety of this event. But what that has done to the fishing on Lake Fork is it's made the fish positioning fairly predictable this time of year. Typically, we would have vegetation in the lake that would hold some fish over the winter, and that would put less fish in these main lake structure type of situations. But now what you've got is you've basically got 2 types of fish on this lake right now. You've got what I call main lake fish, and you've got creek channel fish. Those fish on the main lake, okay, they're going to set up on points in main lake timberline. Some of them are going to suspend in timber. We could possibly see some live sonar play a role in this event, much like Patrick Walters did in the fall of 2019, I believe it was, when Patrick Walters did the live scope kind of hit the scene in bass fishing. Well, you could see some of that with guys throwing a jerkbait on Lake Fork. Now, this jerkbait's going to play in multiple different scenarios, so stay tuned for more of this guy as this video goes on for this preview. But you're going to have fish on the main lake suspending in timber, mostly around points at the mouths of major creeks is where you're going to find those fish setting up. So be watching for those guys to be fishing those type of structures with a jerkbait throughout this event. Second, and the one that we've been featuring on our channel, is the creek channel fish, what I'm calling them. These fish are the fish that spawn earlier than the rest. These fish are already in full pre-spawn. They've been in full pre-spawn for about a month now, and they have set up in these creek channels with the lake being low, with there being no grass in the lake. All of those fish, guys, and I mean every one of them, has basically set themselves up in these creek channels that run back into these creeks that warm up earliest. Now, the best ones have been the creeks with the biggest drop-offs, but as we continue to get closer and closer to the spawn day by day, these fish know what's going on. Even if the water temps don't climb, the daylight period is climbing. That is their calendar. They know March is now around the corner, which is when these fish that spawn early will spawn. Some of them will start spawning by the end of February. They do it every year. So these fish are funneling back into these creeks, staying around that channel while it's cold, and then on those warmer trend days, they get up out of that channel and kind of explore. And if we ever get a good hard warm trend, they're going to get up there and start thinking about doing their thing really, really soon, just any day now. So for those fish, you can expect to possibly see some guys throwing a jig on those fish. What I would expect more to see is probably going to be something like a, believe it or not, you might see some of these old heads do good in this event, like some of the old school guys, because something that could play very well, especially in an every fish counts event, it's going to be like just an old light Texas rig lizard. An old black and blue or even green pumpkin lizard plays very well in these low water conditions during the pre-spawn. It is an absolute bite getter, but yet it will catch a big one at the same time. Now, we all know what an old school lizard looks like. I like this bait right here. If you guys are coming to Lake Fork and want to try that out, check out this hog walla from 6 Cents. A little bit like a lizard, and a cross between a lizard and a creature bait. It's got that twin tail on the back, but essentially the same profile as our old lizards. It will catch them. That bait right there is a bite getter for sure. So expect to see two different patterns forming, one based around creek channels and secondary ditches as these fish are moving back into the creeks, and the other pattern being out on the main lake, fishing suspended fish on the main lake on points around timber. Now let's discuss what's going to happen, what we're going to see if we do get a major significant warming trend right before or during this 6-day event. Guys, I can't express to you what we'll see if that happens. It's or what we could potentially see. You never know. It's fishing, so you never know. But we could potentially see fireworks, the likes of which we've never seen before, with guys of this caliber fishing this lake if they hit a warming trend during this event. What they need is 3 days where the nighttime lows are above the water temp. That means we need 3 nighttime lows in the mid 50s or upper 50s or possibly 60s. That would be great. What happens is every day, like today, it's getting up close to 70 degrees. The water temps climb a little bit. And then like last night, it was a low of 33. So the water temps fall overnight. And so the water temps just do this. And they slowly move up a little bit at a time as the days get longer throughout this time of year. When you have a nighttime temperature of, right now the water temps are right around 51, 52, 53 on Fork today. When you have a nighttime temperature of 55, it climbs during the day while it's 65, 70, and then at night it never falls. And then the next day it climbs again, and then it never falls. And so you can see what happens to that water temp. Boy, that water temp really starts climbing fast in a few days, and the shallow water, the very shallowest water on the lake, is what's going to warm up the first in those situations. So if we see that scenario where that water temperature really climbs, the very shallowest water on the lake is going to warm up first, and these fish are going to pile into those early warming areas. Some of these fish are going to be thinking about spawning. They're probably not going to have time to do it during the event, but they're going to be thinking about it, and the fish that pull in there are going to be hyper aggressive. The water temps will be warming. They will be fastly warming their bodies. That means their metabolism will be fastly picking up, and they're going to absolute chew. You could potentially even see guys catching fish on something as crazy as a buzz bait if we get a major warming trend during this event. Now right now that's not forecasted, but I wanted to cover this because if this scenario plays out during this event, it could be just insane. Every single year, the best days of the year that are the most predictable that they're going to be the best are after a 3-day warming trend in the pre-spawn. When that happens, guys, I cannot express to you what goes down on these lakes around here if you know where to look for the fish. Most people completely miss it because it's February and they're wanting to fish, you know, middle of the pocket, mouth of the pocket, middle of the creek. They don't ever get to these fish. The shad go back into that warm water, the bass pile in there with them, and they go to feeding. And I'm talking about water this deep, having 8-pounders and such in it. It's pretty insane how it goes down. Now, if that scenario plays out, a shallow diving crankbait is going to be money. I mean, absolute money. This little bait right here is really special for Lake Fork in particular. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make another video about this tournament. We're going to do the best baits for the Major League Fishing event. So we're going to have another video 2 days after this one. It'll air on Thursday right before those guys start practice, and I'm going to give you guys the best baits for this tournament. But this bait right here, I will tell you this. This is the Movement 80X from 6th Sense Fishing. On this lake, this bait is like made for this pond, man. When this lake is low like this and there's timber and hard cover exposed everywhere, there's not another crankbait on the market that deflects as good as this one. And it has such a violent vibration, it has such violent deflection qualities. It bounces off cover so far and so hard that it takes these super pressured fish of Lake Fork and forces them to react and bite when they won't with anything else. I would say this to any of you MLF guys, Bass Pro Tour guys that are watching, if there's any chance of a warming trend happening, you better, and even if there's not, because they bite it even when it's cold. I mean, the fish on this lake love this crankbait right here in shallow water. You boys might want to make sure you have a 6th Sense Movement 80X in your boat, 1 or 10. This is a crawl color, but we also throw them in shad colors. And like I said, come back for the next video on Thursday and I'll give you all the different color varieties and the exact baits that we're going to talk about using, or the guys should be using throughout the MLF event. But a variety of shallow crankbaits could come into play in a warming trend scenario. One that could come into play either way, you could see some guys throwing flat-sided square bills. This is the Crush 75X from 6th Sense Fishing here, but there's a bunch of flat-sided square bills that guys throw. And that's something that I think your weekend guys don't throw very much. We don't throw a lot of flat-sided crankbaits. But the Elite Series, the Bass Pro Tour guys, they throw flat-sided crankbaits, and they are some fish-catching machines. So that's another bait that could come into play. And of course, on Lake Fork in the pre-spawn, you got to talk about lipless crankbaits, the old traddle wrap, whatever you want to call it. But lipless crankbaits, even though it's not ideal to throw a lipless crankbait in here right now because it's all timber, and yes, you can get hung up, these fish still bite it. I mean, you can see most of the timber, as you see behind me here. 90% of the timber, you can see it sticking out of the lake, so you can feasibly fish that fairly efficiently and steer it through the lanes in the timber without getting hung up too awful much. And then last but certainly not least, especially if we get the warm days, even the warm afternoons when it's not warm trend. If it warm trends, you can catch them on a lot of things. You might see guys catch them on a swim jig, a chatterbait, who knows what, on an extreme warm trend. But even if it doesn't warm trend, but we just get those sunshiny days, there's going to be plenty of fish up shallow this time of year to be caught on black and blue stick bait, Senko. This is the Clout from 6th Sense Fishing, but the black and blue 5-inch stick bait for years and years and years on Lake Fork this time of year is an absolute money maker. So that's what you can expect to see in this tournament coming up. Like I said, come back, we'll go into more detail on the baits that we're going to see working best in an MLF event coming up on Thursday's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm excited to watch this tournament. Some of the best in the world fishing one of the best lakes in the world at the time of year when the fish are at their absolute heaviest. If these fish bite a little bit for these guys, boys, we're going to see some really big fish get caught in this deal. Even though they target more bites, it doesn't matter. As we saw in the North Louisiana lakes with Bussy Break and Caney and Darbone, those guys were catching some giant bass up to even a 12-pounder by Randy Howe. I'm not going to say that anybody's going to catch a 12-pounder. That's such a rare deal. But, 8, 9, 10-pounders, I would be absolutely floored and shocked if we didn't see many, many, many fish caught over 8 pounds in this event. This will be one of the best big fish catching professional level events you'll ever see, in my opinion. So make sure that you stay tuned. Best of luck to all the guys out there. Special shout out to a couple of our hometown guys. We got a few of them in this field now. Lake Fork kicks out some of the best fishermen on earth. It's one of the best training grounds on earth for bass fishing. Jeff Sprague, good luck, brother. I mean, I started guiding, I think, when he had just left guiding when I started guiding in his first year on the FLW tour. But best of luck to Jeff Sprague, one of our local guys from here. Kelly Jordan, probably the biggest name that's ever come out of here over the years, still kicking around on the Bass Pro Tour, doing his thing, man, hanging in there with all the young guys. This could be a big deal for Kelly. I know I've talked to him about it before. He wants to win one on this lake now that they come here so often. So fingers crossed, man. I would love to see Kelly Jordan do good in this. Best of luck to you, Kelly Jordan. And Takahiro Omori, who's obviously not originally from anywhere in this country, but from Japan, but Takahiro's home is now Emory, Texas, and I see him out on the lake during the off-season guiding from time to time. He is a Lake Fork homeboy. He's from here now, and we're super proud of him. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and a big fish specialist for sure. He's got a knack for catching big ones, just like Kelly and Jeff do as well. So that's kind of part of the trade. When you come from Lake Fork, you're going to know how to catch some big bass, because that's what we got. So best of luck to Talk as well, man. Any of the three of those guys, or hopefully all three of them, have a great event. We'd love to see one of those three guys keep the trophy right here at Lake Fork, Texas for us, man, and make us all proud. All right, guys, that's it for today's video, man. Thank y'all so much for watching, as you always seem to do on this channel. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up for me. Make sure you're subscribed. You hear my boy, he's back here casting. We ain't stopping. We just fishing. It don't matter, video making, whatever. Y'all know how we do it around here, fishing every day, man. Thank you guys so very much, and we'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.